Hello. So let's continue our discussion of formal systems. Now, formal systems are characterized by being digital. For Haugeland, a digital system is a set of positive and reliable techniques, or methods, or devices. Now, techniques for what? Well, techniques for producing, that is, writing, and re-identifying or reading tokens, or configurations of tokens, and where those tokens are taken from some pre-specified set of types. When we talk about writing, we're not talking about making pen or pencil marks, but rather any kind of token manipulation. For instance, moving a chess piece into a square is writing a token into a position. For instance, the move pawn in a4. Likewise, reading a token simply means determining what type it is and which position it is in. It does not involve understanding, but just differentiation by type and position. For instance, an elevator can read the bottom presence that it's being entered. Now, a positive technique is one that can succeed absolutely, totally, and without qualification. Examples? Well, for instance, scoring a goal can be an example. Shooting a ball through a hoop, counting crayons in a box, moving a pawn legally or mating your opponent, or proving a theorem in propositional logic. These are tasks which you can succeed absolutely. So non-examples are keeping the thermostat at exactly 60 degrees, determining the exact weight in grams of a box of candies, positioning the ball exactly at the center of the basket. So these are not examples of positive techniques, because the best you can get in this case is an approximation. Since even if you think that the gauge in the analog thermostat is exactly at 60 degrees, well, you could in principle increase your precision to an arbitrary degree. You are perhaps at 60.01 or at 60.000001. So the keywords here are you can succeed, right? Can. There's a possibility of doing it, and that success is absolute. So the data for digital devices and techniques are defined so that they can be copied exactly. And in this sense, a copy of digital data can be indistinguishable from the original. On the other hand, analog data cannot be copied perfectly. So the criterion in building an analog system is not making perfect copies, but reducing the accumulation of error. So to see the difference, consider the contrast between Rembrandt's paintings and Shakespeare's sonnets. Which of these can be perfectly preserved? You might know that the paintings are slowly deteriorating. So by no means they are now the same as when they were new, even if they have been restored. The poems, by contrast, may well have been preserved perfectly, miscopying aside or any interpolations. So the difference then is that, why is this? Is that the alphabet is digital, whereas paint colors and textures are not. Now, as you and I know, in the real world, nothing is perfect. So how can you achieve perfection with digital systems? Basically, you allow a certain margin for error, within which all performances are equivalent and success is complete. Thus, the exact token or the exact position doesn't matter as long as it stays within tolerances, she would say. So these both count as instances of Sonnet 18 of Shakespeare, because there is some tolerance with respect to what counts as an A, a B, and so on. Here's a musical example. Some of you may have noticed that somebody drums along to a tune. They often don't hit the drum exactly on the beat, even if they intend to. They may be slightly behind the beat or ahead of it. And something similar happens to pitch when somebody sings slightly out of tune. Now, of course, there are editing techniques for correcting this. One of these is called quantization, and you can find it in many digital audio workstations. Quantization sets musical notes to what you call a precise setting, whether in terms of timing or in terms of pitch. So if I play a note slightly out of time, the quantize function can automatically realign that note. And it does this by taking the continuous analog signal that it receives and cutting it into discrete chunks. So something like this. And whatever happens in those discrete chunks, it's taken as equivalent. There are no differences in what happens between those two borders. So, for instance, suppose that in this grid, each of the vertical lines corresponds to a beat, and the orange rectangles correspond to the duration of a note. So say that you produced a note by beating a drum or by plucking a string. Notice that the second note from left to right is somewhat misaligned with respect to the beat. Right? It's comes a little after the beat. Now, suppose this is not because the player is swinging hard or playing deliberately behind the beat, but that it was a genuine mistake. So what quantize does is take everything between those two beats here in this rectangle, and you take it as equivalent, and as if they occur at the same time. So being right on the beat or slightly behind it counts as the same. So this is digitalization. Now, suppose that you have two betting systems. Both use 3 colors for different denominations. So, for instance, blue is $100, red is $10, and white is $1. In system 1, the unit of each denomination is a color plastic disc. I think this is a system they use in casinos. In system 2, the unit of each denomination is a tablespoon of fine color sand. Now, which is digital and which is analog? What advantages and disadvantages do they have? Well, I'll let you think about that, and then you'll let me know later what you think. Okay, so far we have that a computer is an interpreted automatic formal system, and that a formal system is a token manipulation system, which is digital and medium independent. Moreover, you say that a digital system is a set of possible and reliable reading-writing techniques or methods of devices, and that a positive technique is one that can succeed absolutely, totally, and without qualification. Now, we still haven't talked about medium independence, which is absolutely crucial for the computational view of the mind. We'll talk about that in the next video. Cheers!